Greetings, everyone. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to Before I Do, the show that covers what should be done before saying I do for those engaged, dating, want to be married, and not sure if you want to be married. You are tuned into the right place. Our goal is to facilitate courageous conversations on topics relevant to dating and relationships.
And this is intended to be an interactive show. So make sure you post your question, comment, thought, all of those great, awesome things and contributions into the chat area.
Well, we are on vacation this week, but we decided to bring you all with us. We are visiting the lovely island of Aruba.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. For those of you who have never ever visited Aruba, you probably want to put that on your life list. I don't call it a bucket list. We call it a life list. But it's been absolutely amazing. You've been enjoying yourself?
I have been enjoying myself. Really well. So much so it's hard to, you don't think about, flying back and going back home,
In the words of Mr. Otis from Martin, to see the way she bite the side of that tongue, that boy. I mean, I got a sprung, boy. But no, this is a great time. But we also wanted to bring you all along with us because it's a show about dating. We are committed to death. I'm committed to dating my wife for life. And so I am enjoying spending this time with you. Absolutely.
Say it again. Say it again.
I am enjoying spending this time with you. And hopefully you all will be able to enjoy tonight's topic, which is one that I have been pining over ever since we started thinking about this topic and covering it. Tonight's topic, mama's boys
and daddy's girls.
Yes. So we are covering this topic because we know that relationships with parents can if it's not managed correctly, be a hindrance to intimate relationships. And so we want to talk about it, combat it head on, because it is also something that we have had to deal with ourselves.
So. We've dealt with this in our relationship again. For those of you who are new to the show, we have been married for 22 years now. Yep. I got it right. I got the number right. And so tonight's topic is it's very real for the both of us. We definitely have on this marriage journey, this dating journey, this life journey together. The topic of mama's boys and daddy's girls it's definitely come up. Mm-hmm. And so we just want to be here to support those of you who are. And we want to open up with a question.
I think we can. So the question of the night, the Speak Now question of the night: have you ever dated a mama's boy or daddy's girl? What was your experience like with them? What lessons did you learn? Keep it clean, but be real. Please make sure to not use their name. But if you've ever dated a mama's boy, if you've dated a daddy's girl, what was your experience like with them? What lessons did you learn? Mm-hmm. Put it in the chat, and we will be sure to share and comment on those as we go throughout the rest of this evening. But we want to make sure that we've got some equal footing when it comes to mama's boys and daddy's girls.
Common language. So what is a mama's boy?
All right. So what are some of the common characteristics of mama's boys?
Okay, some common characteristics. Here we go. Number 1, a mama's boy believes his mother can do no wrong.
But what if your mama is your mama and she saved? Like she walked with God. Like
she could walk with God. She could be in a real good relationship with God. But we have our good days and our bad days. And every day, some days, she might be a fair weather friend, like she might be, kind of long distance with God. So, a mama's boy believes that his mother can do no wrong. And you and I both know that there's some challenges and some holes in that thinking, right? Number 2, a mama's boy, must consult her. Again, a mama's boy must consult his mama before every single decision. Ooh. That just sounds scary. Number 3, a mama's boy possibly still lives at home with her. Well. Number 4, a mama's boy. These are some characteristics. Doesn't mean that every mama's boy falls into this category. But number 4, a mama's boy always sides with her. And number 5, a mama's boy is often reluctant to stand up to his mother.
Yeah, so those are some really tough ones. And to be perfectly honest, I definitely checked some of those boxes. Yes, I do.
Did you?
Unfortunately, I was a mother's boy. a mama's boy. I say, Mom, you're a mama's boy. And those things were a detriment to our relationship. And for those of you who know my mama, this is not about her. Just so you know, this is about me. This is about my ability to be able to separate and provide boundaries and to make sure that I am keeping the relationship with my mother in the proper space and position as relates to my relationship with my now wife, then girlfriend, former fiance. And so this is not about her. This is about our ability as the sons of our mothers to make sure that we're keeping that relationship in the proper place and in the proper perspectives. All right. So now let's get into these daddy's girls, because you can talk about mama's boy. I'm just saying,
it's
exactly.
a good thing to be married to a daddy's girl.
It can be if you know what you got, you know what you're doing. All right. So common characteristics of daddy's girls. Number one, she is used to being spoiled. Ain't no hotels. ain't no motels. Everything is 3 stars or better. There ain't no drive-through associated with anywhere y'all go. So she is used to having the best of the best. And so that can present some challenges when you're a college student on a budget, or you a young man or a young person trying to find yourself and get your financial footing. Not that I don't love you. I just may not be able to take you to Target right now.
This sounds kind of personal.
I'm just saying, sometimes, blessings can be found in Big Lots. So save a lot.
Is it Target or Target?
I'm just saying.
Target.
So she is used to being spoiled. She's used to getting the best. And number two, she thinks everything she does is cute. Ooh. Even the mistakes, even the stuff that's wrong. As they used to say, like, her stuff don't stink. And so even some of the things that she does, which are not cute at all, especially as you get older. That's not cute. Well, and your daddy may smile and laugh with you, but now in a relationship, that is not something that's going to be conducive for us staying together. Number 3, independent to the point of being competitive or dismissive, where now she has a strong sense of self, but the whole idea of her partner is that it becomes a competition to see who can accomplish certain things. And rather than being a compliment, that person is a competitor. And also being dismissive, where the partner or that relationship that they're in with that person, anything they do is never enough. It's not good enough. And so they can be completely dismissive of the efforts of the person because of the support that they have from their father that they're used to getting. Speaking of support from their father, number 4, sees her father as Prince Charming, as a white knight. It doesn't matter what goes wrong. It doesn't matter what happened. My daddy gonna have my back. Getting in an argument with me. Well, it don't matter because my daddy will take care of it. So, just being able to, your daddy is if it were a card game, because I got the big joke in my hand, then it's like I can win any situation. And then number 5, compares what you do to how her father would do it. Where anything you do, where it comes to whether you're keeping the yard, keeping maintenance on the cars, how you're handling the household when it comes to duties and responsibilities around the house. So constant comparisons to her father. So those are some of the
explaining these like you really have like you need a support group, like you've had these personal experiences. You said you think you're a mama's boy.
Yes.
And I think I'm a daddy's girl too.
I think you are.
But what if I don't really fit into all of those characteristics?
Sure. I mean, again, not every situation is the same.
Okay.
These are again common. So these are some of the things that are generally common amongst mama's boys and daddy's girls, but obviously every situation and every case can be different.
So you too can possibly be a daddy's girl. You too can possibly be a mama's boy.
That's right.
And may not fit into one of those or all of those characteristics. However, this show's still for you, and there's a lot that you can learn.
Absolutely. For those of you just joining us, our Speak Now question of the night is, have you ever dated a mama's boy or daddy's girl? What was your experience like with them? What lessons did you learn? So we are going to take a quick commercial break. We want you all to ponder on that question as we go into a quick commercial for the Couples Academy. And thank you all for tuning in to Before I Do. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Before I Do. Tonight we're talking about mama's boys and daddy's girls. Our question of the night, once again, is have you ever dated a mama's boy, daddy's girl? What was your experience like with them? What lessons did you learn? And Octavia has chimed in. Octavia says, I'm married to a mama's boy, so my voice does not matter. In other words, mama has the floor. So that is said. And so,
Octavia, we're gonna start a support group, girl. We're gonna start a support group.
Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up on the man. Like I said, I've been there, and some of the things and the issues that we are going to talk about, and these are some of the things that are prevalent when it comes to mama's boys and daddy's girls. And we're going to use a really unique approach, and that may help you all. What we're going to do is something called his perspective, her reality, and then her perspective, his reality. So we've identified 3 issues when it comes to daddy's girls, and 3 issues when it comes to mama's boys. And so when it comes to the mama's boys, I'm going to give my perspective. So Octavia, this may give a little bit of insight as to his thought process when it comes to some of those issues. And then Charmaine is going to give her reality and some of the experiences that she has and how she experiences that as a spouse in the relationship as far as those issues. So ready to get into that. I know you all said that you're having some issues hearing us. We're having Caribbean vacation first world problems. So please let us know if you can hear us all right as we get ready to get into our top three issues when it comes to mama's girls. Are you ready? Mama's boys, you ready?
Yep.
All right. So issue number one.
Okay. So the first challenge we have can often, especially if you're married to a mama's boy, goes back to blind spots. We can't really change what we won't acknowledge, right? And so how can we change what the man that you've married or you're dating won't acknowledge? What if his perception is definitely not your reality? And you can't, if you can't acknowledge it, then really it doesn't exist in the reality of your partner. So the biggest challenge is convincing your partner that, there's some challenges here, and you're not even aware of them. You're not aware that when that phone rings and it's your mom, I could be mid-sentence, but you will leave the house, you'll go across town, and you will take care of whatever mama needs, wants, or asks for. And so perception, that's number one. That's the hardest thing to really bring awareness to your partner that, there's some challenges here.
Yeah, so part of the challenge, and again, my perspective when it comes to blind spots is most mama's boys they either don't know that they're mama's boys or they're slow to admit that they're mother's boys because they see it as an admirable thing. As a man loving my mother, as a woman, that should be a good thing. That should be something that is attractive because it means that I have the ability to have a close relationship with a woman of the opposite sex, and most of the time with a person of the opposite sex, with a woman. And also usually they say that mama's boys are gentlemen. They have good manners. They have a good rapport and know how to treat women. Absolutely. But the challenge is, again, knowing how to sever that connection. And when that relationship with my mother became where I valued her opinion about my relationships more than I valued the person that I was in the relationship's opinion, and recognizing the challenges that it was causing. And so I had to acknowledge that she didn't tell me that your mother is a problem. Your relationship with your mother is impacting our relationship, but with the conversations that she began to have brought exposure to maybe my relationship and the way that I am interacting with my mother is a challenge and a problem for us moving forward.
And we have to be careful because, again, one person's function can be another person's dysfunction. So what I view as dysfunction, again, for him was function. What I viewed as, something that was a culture clash, for him, that was his culture. So we have to be patient. We have to operate in grace and in love and know that, man, my reality is not always, how he perceives things, the truth and how he perceives things. So
absolutely. And so remaining, yeah, it's and again, it's a blind spot. And a blind spot, if you notice, like when you're driving, right? There are certain times when you're driving, they tell you before you change lanes, you need to check your blind spot.
That's right.
Meaning that there is a position that a car can be in that even when you look in your mirror, you can't see it. You have to physically turn and look. And it's the same thing in our relationships, where I can look at my relationship, or in both of my relationships. I can look at the relationship with my mother, and I can look at the relationship with my spouse and be like, okay, these individual relationships are fine.
Yes.
But thinking about it from, again, a standpoint of all three of us, like, is my relationship with my mother impacting my relationship with my spouse?
Absolutely.
And being able to scrutinize that. And again, this is not a criticism of my mother and the person she is. This is a critique of me and the place that I have, the esteem that I have that relationship in.
And couples often struggle with that. When we do premarital counseling, couples struggle making that transition to, because there's an order. I mean, things change. The sequencing of voice, who has more voice, and who gets that time, that attention, and who's prioritized, those things, they start to shift, and everyone starts to have to get comfortable with their placement. All right. The second point, if you're dating a mama's boy, is number one spot. Who has the number one spot? If you are dating, engaged, and or married, it doesn't matter. It goes back to this. And I mean, and one of you commented on it, is where do I fall? How important am I in your life? First of all, by the time you go from dating to being engaged to being married, let's be honest, your mother might be, especially if you're spiritual, you got God and then you got your parents, right? But you know what? Once you get married, that order of priority and importance changes and it shifts. And it is God for you and your spiritual being. And then it is literally your wife.
Yeah, so we are, we obviously subscribe to the Christian faith, and the Bible is clear. And I knew this even going into marriage, that Genesis 2:24, I believe, says, is for this reason a man should leave his father and his mother and cling to his wife. But we're not very explicit about what that clinging means, and what does leaving mean. What am I leaving? What am I leaving behind? What things do I need to let go? And what things do I need to hold on to? And so that is where, again, the coaching and the counseling, making sure that if you're considering marriage, that you're getting premarital counseling and thinking through those things. What are some of the traditions and the cultures and the things that you're going to need to carry with you? But the bottom line is, when it comes to the number one spot in my life, there should be no competition. There should be no doubt. My wife is the undisputed, undefeated number one woman in my life, and my mother needs to know that. And by my own admission, I said that with my mouth, but I did not always model that with my actions. And so that was part of my challenge, is figuring out, how do I navigate leaving and cleaving?
And ladies, we have to be patient and give grace. Sometimes we want to we want to fight every battle with our mouth. Sometimes you got to put prayer on it. Sometimes you have to put an extra dose of patience there. Because again, in their minds, they're asking, what's going to make my mother happy? What's going to make my wife happy? And they are having this internal battle and struggle themselves.
Yeah. And also, too, bear in mind that for a long time, my mama was my number one.
That's true.
My mother was my number one. That's the person that birthed me. That's the person that nurtured me. That's the person that is primarily responsible for the man that I am. And so again, that leaving feels like an abandonment. It feels like I am turning my back on the person that is responsible for who I am. But again, it's understanding that she nurtured me for me to leave. And even if and accept that, it's my responsibility to recognize that as a man, as a husband, that she has brought me to this place for me to cleave to my wife.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go to the third one.
Yes, we can.
All right, the third one is, oh my God, you said it, the voice. It is the voice.
We're not talking about the show either. We're not talking about the show.
And so a challenge with either dating, being engaged, or marrying a mama's boy is the voice. It is that unsolicited or that solicited advice and insight that can sometimes come off as being very intrusive. Intrusive questions like, when y'all gonna give me grandchildren? Or, when can what time y'all coming over for the holidays? Well, we haven't even discussed what we're doing for the holidays. So that intrusive voice. And sometimes it's not unsolicited. Sometimes it's the man you love, that you're engaged to, you date, you're married to. It's him asking his mother for her advice and inviting her into a conversation that you yourself may not want her to be included in.
Yeah, so part of voice is empowerment. And so I did not always do a good job of checking my mother. Even saying that, right? How do you check your mama?
Yeah, you better be careful.
How do you respectfully check? How do you check your mama? Because there comes a place in your life where you have to communicate to not just your parents, but to your family.
Yes.
That even though you all may have known me as this little boy, I am now a man, I'm a husband, and there are going to be some things. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I am going to make sure that I'm creating boundaries and a place of understanding as it relates to the way that I conduct my family. And that is, again, a hard thing because nobody necessarily teaches you that. And either there's this line that exists when it comes to being disrespectful and being respectful, especially of our elders. And so there has to be more courageous conversations that's around that. And I didn't always navigate that line well. I allow certain voices to impede and interfere in our marriage because of the respect that I was trying to maintain, but I couldn't but I did it at the detriment and the disrespect of my spouse.
But I was going to say, again, we were young. Yeah. And we, again, didn't get that premarital counseling, which is why that we are avid and just in believing that when we're counseling couples, it doesn't matter your age, to have courageous conversations with your partner and really to combat these things as they come up. But mainly being proactive about it as well. Yeah.
So Gorgeous has a really good question. I think this is a good one for you. She says, what if you put boundaries in place, but the mama boy don't abide? He doesn't agree.
Well, and this is, and this is where it goes back to, it is either one of two things. That it's a personality. Sometimes it's a personality clash, right? And then a lot of times it's environment. So it's the culture that we've grown up in. We both walk into a relationship with an invisible suitcase. That is our culture. Some of those things were prepackaged in there, where you grew up, your socioeconomic status, the things you learned, right, in your environment. But then when we come together, we're building our own culture. And again, that is why that counseling piece is important, because typically our society has taught, especially men, that, your wife just going to come into your culture, whatever you built.
I will say this too. One of the things that was helpful for me as a mama's boy, Gorgeous, with that comment was my wife never criticized my mother. She never criticized my mother. Her focus was always on my well-being and on me trying to navigate making her happy and making my mama happy. So her focus was always on my well-being. So what I will say is that if you've been focusing more on your mother-in-law, if you more than you have on his well-being and making sure that he is, not appreciating, but acknowledging the fact that, hey, I know you're trying to do this and do that, but you're wearing yourself out.
Yes.
And me coming to the realization that, you know what, she's right. Like something that's in me said, this isn't right. And when I went back to scripture, I'm like, I'm out of order. I'm out of alignment. And a lot of times with men, it's taking the time and it's setting the atmosphere for us to be able to recognize and see some things for ourselves.
I mean, strategically, to be honest, I let him wear himself out. Now, there were times I wasn't happy, but there were times I wasn't happy because he really was trying to take care of our house and take care, and take care of the things that his mom wanted. And eventually he got tired of that. But guess what? When he came home, instead of me complaining with my mouth, I made sure, okay, well, there were certain things that I made sure that our house was the sanctuary, that he was comfortable when he came home and all of that. But I wasn't an enabler at all as well.
No, not at all. Nope.
I did not lower the expectations for our house. You going over there doing stuff, okay, you tired, I don't care.
Nope.
It's stuff that you got to get done here.
That's right.
And so keep the standard high, keep the expectation there, and remind him of his own words. See, a lot of times with us as women, we trying to preach and put our own words. Nope. You continue to take notes on everything he says and what his convictions are, and you remind him of what he said. And that's what I used to do, remind him of what he said. And I kept the standards at home high.
Yeah, it's getting hot in here, y'all. We are going to need to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with more before I do.
Welcome to the Couples Academy app. The Couples Academy app is your go-to hub for how to do marriage right. Get started with our app today by perusing our amazing
All right, everybody, welcome back to Before I Do. Tonight's topic is Mama's Boys and Daddy's Girls. Don't forget the question of the night, the Speak Now question. Have you ever dated a mama's boy or daddy's girl? What was your experience like with them? What lessons did you learn? Be sure to put those in the chat.
Yeah, speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay. And so now we kind of unpacked the mama's boys. Mm-hmm. It can be tough. It can be very, very tough. And it can take a while, y'all.
Yeah.
For, again, those 3 points to really be brought to the light, to balance that voice. However, now switching gears to daddy's girls. Now we know, we're kind of on our time, but we want to.
Oh, now we got to be mindful of time when it comes down to talk about daddy's girls. Now we almost out of time.
It's not as big of an issue with daddy's girls.
Yeah, right. Okay, whatever. So issue number one when it comes to daddy's girls are assumed gender roles or expectations. So there are certain things that are expected of me as a man, but there are also certain things that, well, why you think I should do that? Because I'm a woman. And it's like, well, wait a minute, where is the line when it comes to gender roles? So this whole idea of what gender roles are assumed and what are flexible. Okay. And part of that, again, is really just being able to have, again, that courageous conversation about, I know I don't mind taking out the trash. I don't mind, getting the children up and ready for school. But it's like, and you're the technology expert, but the idea of these gender expectations, having those conversations about what it is that you're expecting me to do shouldn't be based on what you experienced from your father, because our relationship and our abilities may be totally different.
Absolutely. And I think, some of the toxic things we hear that can cause conflict with couples is what my daddy used to do.
Right.
Well, my daddy, what kind of man? Ooh, ... Like, what kind of man, ... Well, my daddy, ... Ooh, ouch. And so it's really important, to have these conversations. And again, we encourage couples, don't get caught up in what society says you should fall into just because of your gender. Again, in our relationship, there was just certain things that, first of all, my husband can cook. Thank you. He can cook, y'all. And so, and I can cook too. However, the bottom line is he doesn't feel a certain type of way because he cooks. He's great. He's an early riser. So thank goodness for him. He got our daughters up for school, all 18 years of and he gets them to school on time because you know what? That's his strength. That's a superpower. Me, I do other things that fall best in line with me. So again, those gender roles can be toxic. Ladies, we need to take that out of our vocabulary. What kind of man? Aren't you a man? Man up. Ouch. Like, we want to make sure we are building our house up as queens, right?
Exactly.
We want to build our king up. We don't want to tear him down. And then we're supposed to, he's supposed to be attracted to us when the sun goes down and we're in the bedroom.
Yeah.
So we want to build our men up, and we want to make sure that they understand that we value them, but making sure we're not boxing them into who our fathers were in our lives.
Yeah, and speaking of who your fathers were issue number 2, hidden father fees. All right, let me go back to that.
What does that
be
mean?
A quick
what
flash.
Does that mean?
All right, so here's the thing, right? Everything in life costs. Everything in life costs. There is nothing free. Everybody knows that, right? So when we talk about a man being taking care of his household, working, my father always made sure we didn't go without. But what about the time that he may have missed not being there for some of the things that you did? Okay. Some of the games, some of the activities. There was a cost. Okay. So there is a fee that's associated with you either being there or not being there. And there's a balance that we strive to maintain as men. And especially in this day and age where a lot of men are starting to recognize where, you know what, I did work. I worked 6 days a week to take care of my family. But when I sit around and listen to my children talk as adult children, they're talking about all of these experiences that they had, these games, these concerts, these various things that I was not able to attend. Yes, I was able to financially support them, but my role doesn't have to necessarily be limited to that. So recognize that there is a cost. So and figuring out exactly where does your value lie? Got it. Does your value lie in your man being physically present for all of those things, or does your value lie in your husband and father providing financial support? And that's where you want the focus to be, because either way, there is going to be a cost that is associated with the decision that's made. So
you're saying in dating a daddy's girl, especially one who expects a financial, like I expect my man to earn a wage, 6 figures, whatever your expectation is. You're saying that if you date a daddy's girl, like a daddy's girl needs to be very clear about her currency and what she expects. So because you don't want to beat down your man who, he may not be earning 6 figures, but he's there. Right. He's present. He's a great father. He's involved in that process. So again, what is your currency? And so, okay, I understand. And the thing is, whatever your currency is, it is what it is. But just know that it comes with a cost. Got it. And so recognizing again exactly what that fee is. And also what's important too, daddy's girls, you need to go talk to your father. Have a conversation with them about some of the things that when they look back on being a father, what are some of the things that if they could go back and do some things, would they do things different? What things are they upset that they might have missed or not done? And just talking with a lot of daddy's girls, I've heard a lot about, and even my experience is like, oh, my dad was a great dad. Like I love my dad. But was my dad a great husband to my mama? Yeah. Was my dad, a great community member? Right. And so again, you're right. There is a cost. Right. Sometimes, you might have a dad or they might be a great community member, but might have lacked in the relationship piece or in the parenting area. And that actually goes right into issue number 3, which is the grace between not knowing and growing, or to not know and grow. So the advantage that daddy's girls have, right, is they are usually treated like a queen, like a princess by their father, but they don't necessarily know, as Charmaine just mentioned, some of the things and qualities that they may have as a husband. Okay. So your experience with your father as a husband may be totally different than your mother's experience with him as a husband. So when you marry someone, you are expecting or have the expectation of your father, when really that person as a husband, when you look at your father as a husband, it may be 2 totally different things. But here's the thing though,
most of the time, daddy's girls have the patience to where when they find out those things about their father as a husband, there's patience, there's perspective that's given, but there's also grace to be able to recognize that, okay, my father might have had some challenges, he might have fallen short in some areas, but he's still a man, and he is, and he worked on it, and he became better. Is that grace extended to your spouse? Is that grace extended to your husband? In allowing him to be able, to grow, and allowing him to be able to mature, as opposed to these expectations that you have for him based on your role as a daddy's girl.
And expectations are great. Expectations, you are necessary. But when you talk about the point of grace, I will agree with you. Sometimes we want that instant, immediate gratification, and sometimes it's like, okay, well, my daddy, like, come on, like, you should have already arrived. You should be mature in these areas. And so I absolutely agree with you that we sometimes forget when we're dating, engaged, or married. We are all evolving. We are all growing, and we all need that grace. And so, if as a daddy's girl myself, I consider myself a daddy's girl. I love my father, and I had a great relationship. I have a great relationship with my dad, but I do think that that patience is required. And I don't know. I think I was pretty patient. I think I was pretty patient with you. No, you were. And and the evolution of you as a husband, but even the evolution with you of you as a father, and those things. But we do have to be careful with our words. We got to use our I call it the Queen Esther approach. We gotta use our queendom in a way that again it builds that confidence in the person we're dating. Not enabling, and not being passive aggressive, and telling the truth, right? But also continuing to maintain a level of, okay, I've kind of said how I'm experiencing you in this moment, and I'm going to continue. And we're going to come back together to talk about what's working, what's not working, and why.
Absolutely. So hopefully you all have gotten a lot out of this, man. This was heavy tonight.
This was quick.
I was telling you, I was dreading this topic because I am a mama's boy. I did not know how heavy of a mama's boy I was and the impact that it was having on my relationship. And so I am so excited to be on the other side, to have this conversation, to apologize to you publicly, and to say thank you for giving me the grace to grow as a husband, as a father, as a man, and just being patient with me. And, I want to say thank you to me for being patient with you.
You don't even have to say thank you.
Don't worry about it. I'll say thank you. I'll say thank you to myself.
You're not even going to wait for me.
No, I'm just going
to just offer, I love, he is my friend. He's my husband. He's absolutely been patient with me, because y'all, that stubborn Jamaican is real, y'all. And I know I've mastered stubborn Jamaican. So sometimes when things aren't happening how I think they should go, or I'm a very task-oriented person. He's a very people-oriented person. So again, in couples counseling, it is important to know your personality profile. We help to dissect and really help couples unpack that. But also, again, your environment, culture. We bring culture into our relationships. And so how do we now come and how do we calibrate those things so that you can understand the uniqueness of your relationship? Our relationship is the only one branded like it is, because his personality and my personality, it's a very unique thing in combination with our culture. Your relationship is unique.
Absolutely.
And so get the help, get the support, book us for a session.
Reach out to us for a session. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to Before I Do. Like, share, subscribe, and be sure to reach out to us. We are live from the island of Aruba. We are getting ready to log off so we can explore the island a little bit more. We look forward to seeing you all at the same time next week for more Before I Do. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Good night, everybody.